Hi, I'm Bluebird the Storyteller and pretty much do what that says. I fly into places, I share stories and then I fly away again. Although at the moment I've had my wings clipped just a little bit. I'd like to tell you a dilemma story, which means at the end of it you'll have to make up your own ending. There was once a king, and as he was a king he had a daughter, a princess. And he thought the princess should get married. Now the princess had other ideas around that. She wasn't too keen. And she kept coming up with excuses for getting out of it. And in the end she said to her father, I will marry the person who can bring me the greatest gift of all. So the king let it be known far and wide. The person who could bring what his daughter declared to be the greatest gift of all would be allowed to marry her. Well, they all came. They brought all sorts of wonderful gadgets that would tease her hair and, I don't know, make bubbles around her feet. They came with wonderful carriages. They came with great big rings and pendants and brooches. But no matter what they bought, the princess said, no, that is not the greatest gift of all. And so they were all sent away again. And so it went on. Now, far away from the palace, there lived on a farm 3 brothers. And one morning, the eldest one came downstairs and said, Good morning, what a wonderful day. I have dreamt what is the greatest gift of all, and I'm just off to market to buy it. He went and he got his horse out the stable and off he went to market. He went past the stall that was selling all the toilet rolls. He went past the stall that was selling all the dried pasta. He went past the stall that had wonderful silks and handbags and shoes, until he came to a stall that was selling mirrors. There was a man behind the stall, dressed in a grey cloak that came over his eyes. And the eldest brother said to him, I understand you are selling the greatest gift of all, and I'd like to buy it, please. Ah, said the man. And he reached down under his table and he pulled out a mirror. The lad looked at it and said, I don't want to be rude, but that just looks like any old mirror to me. Ah, said the man. But this mirror, when you look into it and wish, you can see what is going on anywhere. Go on, give it a try. And so the lad looked and he wished to see what his brothers were up to. And sure enough, he could see them. Oh, that's amazing, he said. I'll buy it. He wrapped it up. He gave him the price he asked for and he went back home. And he said to his brothers, oh, it's getting a bit late now. I'll set off tomorrow. Well, the next morning, the middle brother came downstairs and he said, Good morning. I have had the most wonderful dream. I dreamt what is the greatest gift of all, and I'm just off to market to buy it. And he got his pony out of the stable and off he went to market. He too went past the stall that was selling the toilet rolls, past the stall that had all the dried pasta, past the stall that had all the wonderful silks, dresses, handbags and shoes, past the stall that was selling the mirrors, until he came to a stall that was selling carpets. There was a little man behind the stall who was wearing a cloak with a hood. And he said to him, I understand you are selling the greatest gift of all, and I'd like to buy it. Ah, said the man. And he pulled out a carpet and laid it. And the lad said, I don't want to be rude, but that just looks like any old carpet. Ah, said the seller. That may be so. But when you put this on the ground and you stand on it and you wish to go somewhere, it will take you there in a trice. Go on, try it. The lad stood on the carpet. He wished himself back at the house. And no sooner had he visited the house, and then there he was back in the market. He said, "This really is the greatest gift of all. How much would you like for it?" The man named his price, and the boy paid him. He rolled up the carpet, and he went back to the house. His older brother had waited for him, and they both said, "Oh, it's a bit late now. We'll go tomorrow." Well, the next morning, the youngest brother came down the stairs and said, "Oh, good morning, everyone. I have had the most brilliant, marvellous dream. I have dreamt what is the greatest gift of all, and I'm just off to buy it from the market. You two wait for me, and when we get back, we'll all go together." And he went to the stables, and he got out his donkey, and off he rode to the market. He too went past the stall that was selling the loo rolls, the stall that was selling all the dried goods and pasta, the stall that had all the silks, the dresses, the shoes, the handbags, the mirrors, the carpets, until he came to a stall that was selling lemons. And he said to the man who was behind the stall, who was wearing a grey coat with a hood, "I understand you have the greatest gift of all, and I'd like to buy it, please." "Ah." And he reached under the stall and he brought out a lemon. And the young lad said, "I really don't want to be rude, but that just looks like an ordinary lemon to me." "Ah," said the seller, "it looks like an ordinary lemon, but this lemon, you only have to grate a little bit off of its rind and add some hot water to it, and it will cure all known illnesses and unknown illnesses." "Ah," said the young lady, "that really is the greatest gift of all. I'll buy it." And they exchanged the money. He put the lemon in his pocket, got back on his donkey, and he rode back to the farm. He got about halfway when he met his two brothers, and he said to them, "I knew you wouldn't wait for me. I knew you wouldn't. It's always the same." And they began to argue amongst themselves. And then one of them said, "Hang on a minute. It's a long way to where the princess lives. How do we know that somebody hasn't already taken her something which she deems to be the greatest gift of all? We could be wasting our energy here." Well, the eldest one said, "Oh, hang on a minute, I can solve that." And he pulled out his mirror, and they looked into it, and sure enough, they could see the princess. But she wasn't well, they could see. She was in her bed, and she had a fever, and she had a persistent cough. She really was struggling for breath. "Ah," said the youngest one, "we need to get there quickly. I've got her something, this lemon, that will cure her." "Oh, no." And the middle brother said, "It's fine, I've got this." And he laid out the carpet, and they all stood on it, and they wished themselves into the princess's bedroom. Well, it caused a bit of commotion when they suddenly appeared, but the youngest one said, "Bring me some hot water and a grater and a glass." Off they went, and they got it, and he grated just a little bit of the lemon, and they poured the hot water on and waited for it to cool slightly, and then they offered it to the princess. She was wheezing for her breath, but she sipped it, and as she sipped it, it was like a miracle. The colour came back to her face. She stopped coughing. Her temperature went down. She came back into herself. And she looked around. "Oh, what happened here?" "Well," said her father, "well, you were really poorly, but these three appeared from nowhere." "Oh," she said. And the eldest one said, "Yes, and I wouldn't have known you were ill if it wasn't for my magic mirror that showed us you were ill. And so I believe this is the greatest gift of all. Will you marry me?" And she said, "Oh, well, maybe I should." But the middle brother said, "Oh, whoa, hang on a minute there. You see, I've got the greatest gift of all, for I have this carpet. When you stand on this carpet and wish yourself somewhere, you're there in a trice. And if we hadn't got here quickly, we wouldn't have been able to save you. I think I have the greatest gift. Will you marry me? And she said, oh, well, maybe I should. Yes, maybe that is the greatest gift. And the youngest one stepped up and said, whoa there, hang on a minute. If it wasn't for my lemon that I just grated a little bit of the rind off of and added the hot water, this lemon will cure all known ills and unknown ills. I believe this is the greatest gift of all. Will you marry me? The princess said, oh, yes, maybe that is the greatest gift of all. Yes, I will marry you. And the middle brother said, no, hang on a minute, that's not fair. If we hadn't got here in time, that would have been of no use. And the eldest brother said, but if we hadn't looked in my mirror, that would have not been of any use. We wouldn't have known you were ill. And the princess said, oh, yes, maybe I should marry you. No, maybe but the lemon, but maybe the... And for all I know, the princess is still trying to decide. Perhaps you could decide for her and put up a little message of which one you think is the greatest gift of all.